close the doors. So those people outside, I'm sorry you didn't board the aircraft from Nirvana. With the eyes closed, first thing to do is to just experience your body sitting. How do you feel physically? There is no such thing as a perfect posture which suits everybody. So with your eyes closed, your awareness of your own body should be increasing. And if you sense anything which needs to be moved, please move it. To adjust the legs, the back, any tight pieces of clothing, to sneeze, to cough. One of the reasons we close our eyes in Buddhist meditation is because once everyone's got their eyes closed, you can pick your nose, put your finger in your ears, scratch places you wouldn't dare scratch when other people are looking. Kindness. Just be with your body. And if there's any ache or pain deep inside of you, put awareness on it and be kind. You'll find that mindfulness will give you feedback. You'll notice sensations change. And if you add the kindness, you will notice those sensations change to a deeper state of ease and comfort, of relaxation and peace. So establish mindfulness on your body with all its feelings and sensations. And then add kindness to calm the body down, to bring it to a state of comfort, relaxation, and minimal pain. Just be with your body. Once the body is reasonably relaxed, just let it go, leave it alone. And then we put all of our attention in the first part of stillness, which is being stillness in time. All the past, whatever's happened in the last few minutes, going back to the earliest times you can remember. That's just too much business. You let it go. The past cannot be changed. And trying to work out the lessons of the past are nowhere near as wonderful as learning the lessons of the present. So let the past go. Again, as for the future, now is the time your future is being made. So now is really the only time we have. If you like, you can follow this exercise, this mental exercise, which will help you let go of the past and the future. You can imagine you've just left the shopping centre and you're carrying two heavy bags, one in the left arm, one in the right arm. You imagine two heavy shopping bags. And they're so heavy already your arms ache and your shoulders hurt. And you look down at the shopping bag in your left hand, and you find on the outside are the four letters P-A-S-T. That's your past. With all of your memories, good and bad, all stuffed into that bag you've been carrying around far too long. So actually your mind hurts. And the big bag in your right hand has the letters F-U-T-U-R-E. It's your future in there. With all your hopes and fears anxieties and plans, all stuffed into that shopping bag called the future, which you're carrying in your right hand, carrying far too long. So you associate the big shopping bag in the left hand with the past, and the shopping bag in the right hand with your future. Now feel that shopping bag in your left hand, the past. And imagine yourself lowering that bag to the floor. As soon as it reaches the ground, the weight disappears. You uncurl your fingers from the handle. Move your left arm up to the side, so your left arm can relax, recuperate, re-energize as you put down your past. And next you focus on the big bag in the right hand, representing your future. You lower that to the ground too. You notice the point when it reaches the ground, the weight vanishes. You move your hand away from the handle until your right arm is hanging loosely by your side, also resting and recuperating. And there you stand, with the shopping bags on either side, having let go of the past, let go of the future, and you're standing in the space in between, the present moment. You don't have to worry, those bags will be there for you afterwards. But now you rest, no past, no future, just resting in this now. And please be kind to this moment. Allow it to be. If you're sleepy, fine, be sleepy. If you're restless, fine, be restless. Please be kind. Without kindness, there will be no stillness. So stop driving the meditation. Stop controlling. Stop making things happen. And start letting things go. Just being in this moment, being kind. Any thought, any feeling in the body. Open the door of your heart to this moment, to this feeling, to this thought. Don't fight it, open to it, with unconditional mindfulness, allowing things to be no matter what they are. Any thoughts are like waves on the surface of the lake. Just relax, be still, and those waves vanish. If you need to cough, please cough. Kind. Just let it out, let it happen. As you get more and more still, many things disappear until finally the breath emerges, like being unpacked. Underneath that is the breath. So you just know this beautiful breath going in and going out. Natural, peaceful, with no effort. If the breath disappears, fine. If it stays, fine. So have a mind which doesn't control. Imagine that simile of the still forest pool. You're just an Ajahn Chah. The more still you are, the less orders you give, the more likely the animals will come out to play by the still forest pool that is your mind. Getting very closely into meditation now. Don't open your eyes yet. How do you feel inside? What's this meditation done for you? How much stillness, relaxation have you achieved? Just know what it feels like. And know what it's about, what worked, what didn't work. So this way you can learn about meditation. Now please follow 3 more breaths. At the end of the 3rd breath you can come out from your meditation after 3 breaths. There you go. say a few words, and then think about enjoy life with loved ones without attachments. It's difficult having loved ones because sometimes we're so close together. Where there's friction and closeness, there's always a lot of heat. That is why they always say the 3 rings of marriage. When you get married, there's always 3 rings involved. The first ring is the engagement ring, the second ring is the wedding ring, and the third ring is the supper ring. I knew a guy, he's over in Australia. It's amazing. He said that when I was going out before I got married, I would always hold the hand of my girlfriend, my fiancée. He says, now I've been married for 5 years, I still hold her hand. Isn't that sweet? He said, before I used to hold her hand out of love, now I hold her hand out of self-defense. It's always problems with loved ones, isn't it? Because one of the reasons is we don't have the right type of love. When you get married, we love the person in one way. When you have children, you love your kids in another way. It's really amazing that when you choose a partner in life, you go to great lengths to choose that partner. You know, you go out for many days, maybe years sometimes, before you commit. Imagine if you went to a shop looking for a new car, and you said, maybe in 6 months I'll buy it. What would the salesman say to you? That's what you do with a partner. We'll go out together and see how it goes, and maybe 6 months or a year, then we might get married. And you also check each other out, you test drive, as they say, before you commit. But still, after all that careful choice, you don't love your husband or your wife unconditionally. And I'll tell you why. When I do marriage blessings, I like looking at the newly married bride and groom. First of all, I start with the bride. I look her in the eyes and say, from now on you're a married woman. You must not think of yourself. She looks at me and her husband smiles. Yeah, I'm not going to think of myself now. No more selfishness. And I look at him, the new groom, and I say, from now on you too should not think of yourself. You're a married man. He has to pause for a few seconds before he nods his head. And still looking at him, I say, from this moment on, you should not think of her, your wife. It's called teaching through confusion. It's a wonderful teaching method, because when you know what we're going to say, you're not thinking. There's an answer to this, so listen. Now look at her, and I say, from this moment on, you must not think of him, your husband. And they look at each other, and they say, who is this crazy monk marrying us? And then I tell them the answer. Once you're married, you must not think of yourself, nor must you think of your partner. Instead, you must think of us. It's not about me, it's not about him, it's not about her, it's about us. And once you get that very clear in your head, then a lot of the problems with loved ones vanishes. You know what happens when you have a problem? It's his fault. Just you wouldn't believe what that's what you say to each other when you go to the temple. Oh, that man, that is driving you crazy, it's his fault. It's not his fault. And what you guys say when you're by yourself, oh just gee, women are just like that. I don't know why, but I should have been like Ajahn Brahm. You say it's her fault. It's not her fault. And some of you think, oh gee, I should have done better, it's my fault. It's not my fault, it's not his fault, it's not her fault. Whose fault is it? Our fault. In other words, we both experiencing the problems, we fix it. So if you have loved ones, if you're wise, you realize you're in it together. It's commitment. It's the other thing I say when I do marriages. I say when you're going out together, Or even when you're living together, but you haven't exchanged those rings yet, it's only involvement. But once you commit in front of your family and friends, and you exchange those rings, you're married. That is really called commitment. If you want to know and remember the difference, it's exactly the same as the difference between bacon and eggs. In bacon and eggs, the chicken is involved, but the pig is committed. So marriage is pig commitment, okay? You give your whole life this is it. It's all about us, no way out. You're not just giving an egg, giving part of yourself, you're giving the whole lot. That's why all marriages are pig relationships. Just going out together, living together, de facto, that's egg relationships, chicken stuff. But, okay, what was the question again? How will we enjoy life with others without attachment? So you enjoy the time you have together. Oh, and you have lots of difficulties. But when you have difficulties in life, in any type of relationships, that's the interesting stuff. That's the juicy part of the relationship. That's the shitty stuff. And without the shit, there'll be no mango trees or apple trees. My saying is this. In London, I don't know if it's still the same. When I used to live in London, you're always treading in the dog poo. Because people take the dogs for walks. The same thing? Yes. Yeah, okay. Well look, as a Buddhist, when you tread in the dog shit, you must not scrape it off your shoes. Please remember that. Yes. You have to bring it home with you. Oh, come on. And scrape it off in the garden, under the apple tree, or the rose bushes, or whatever. And if you scrape it off under the apple tree, then maybe 1 or 2 years later, your apples will be so delicious, so sweet and juicy. It's true, isn't it? Because dog shit is excellent fertilizer. But the thing is, the problem with human beings is they forget. When they're tasting that sweet, juicy apple, that's so delicious, they forget what they're really eating. It's dog shit, but transformed into juicy, succulent fruit. Now, reading that story, you know, when you have a relationship with your loved ones, it's not always easy. There's a lot of dog shit, there's a lot of sweet apples in the marriage. But you know the two go together. Without the dog shit, there'll be no sweet apples. So that's why the relationship, whenever there's an argument, a problem, whoopee! More fertilizer on my apple tree. So we're actually going to learn how to love each other. And all the difficulties are just fertilizer. And the way we love each other without attachment is the same way you love your child, without attachment. In other words, those of you who've got kids, the time will come when your daughter, your son says, "Mummy, bye-bye, I'm going to the other side of the world to live. Daddy, bye-bye, I'm going to live in New York, in Cairo, Afghanistan, or whatever." And you have to say bye-bye because you have to let them go. And you know, somebody asked me yesterday, last night, "What did your parents think of you becoming a monk?" And I said, "My mother, like all mothers, just wanted me to be happy. When she knew I was happy being a monk, she was very happy." And that makes the point, because I was talking with your Chief Reverend earlier, it's getting hard to get actually monks out from Sri Lanka. There's some difficulty with the visas. So really we have to recruit from in-house. So we need some more young men and young women becoming bhikkhus. You can't keep importing them from overseas. You know what happens when you keep importing into UK? It means the balance of trade goes down, we get into debt. So we have to become self-sufficient in this country and produce more things. So there you go, all you young guys. And what do you want to go and get married for? It's a lot of suffering. What do you go and get a job for? You get the sack. What about earning money? We never have enough. Become a monk. have a wonderful life. Free, peaceful, helping the world, serving the community, meditating, a bliss better than sex. No more suffering, you don't watch TV anymore, so you don't cry when Sri Lanka keep losing the cricket, or when your soccer team get relegated. Oh, what fun, what joy. Well, that'd be a monk. It's a great lifestyle. I think it's about time that this Vihara should go to the local universities and have a stall at careers day. Become a monk. The pay's not so good, but the retirement plan is out of this world. Look at me. I have a great time being monk. I have a lot of fun. It's a great thing to do. So, and you parents, oh goodness, your children, sometimes getting them out of the house is hard enough. And when they're out of the house, they're always worrying you, Dad, I need some money for the first house. Mum, can you please help me with this problem and that problem? Usually beforehand, 18 or 19, you'll be free of them. These days, 30, 40, they're still bothering you. Ordain them and they're free. It's a cheap encumbrance problem. You're free of them. You can go to Sri Lanka whenever you like. You don't have much more money because you don't waste it on your kids, and you can get a nice new house or a car or whatever. You have freedom. Don't you want to be free? So, is that a good marketing campaign? Did I win? But anyhow, the most important thing is my mother just wanted me to be happy. And that's the main thing with our mothers. Not really attached to their children, because they can let their kids go. Much more so they can let their partner go. They just enjoy their company, but they can just let them go whenever they want. Hopefully you could do that. And you enjoy the time with your loved ones, and when your kids need to go, you're just so happy that they're happy somewhere. But that's what real love is. Real love is not just wanting your partner to be around you all the time and do what you want. It's just you love them if they're happy. The biggest thing in their life is your partner, the people you love, are happy, just like your children. Now that's the higher type of love. It's not the love of like a man and wife when they first get married. So my whole purpose of life, I just want you to be happy. I want you to be free. And the test whether your relationship with your partner is like that their happiness is the most important thing in the world for you, is this. This is my acid test. It's like a thought experiment. So you just think that you've come to the temple for a nice meditation day. And when you get home, your partner who you left back at home says, they've disappeared, they've got a note on the door. Darling, I've just run away to, what's a nice holiday place? To Ibiza. Is that a place? Okay, I've run away to Ibiza with your best friend. We're having a wonderful time down there, lots of sex, lots of romance, and that's your partner. How would you feel?
Angry.
Why? You should be so inspired and enjoy it. They're having such a wonderful time. My partner's so happy. They're having better sex than they have with me. Oh, I'm so enjoy it so much because my partner's happiness is the most important thing in the world to me. Oh, wonderful. Spend another week there. If you can do that, then you really love your partner. Their happiness is the most important thing in the world. It's not, is it? Now that's the trouble with relationships, because we don't really understand what love is. A lot of love, again, is that attachment. I just want you around. I want you to do this, I want you to do that. And that's why in a relationship sometimes they really get very difficult. There's too much control, there's too much being put into boxes. So the wonderful thing in life is to be able to love a person, to be able to say to your partner, to your children, to all your other loved ones, when my love has reached that level, the door of my heart is open to you, no matter what you ever do. Son, daughter, you may go to the other ends of the world. You may, make mistakes, but I'll always love you. I'll always care for you. It's a beautiful thing to give that type of love. It's the love which gives freedom, the love which includes letting go, not attachment. And that's beautiful when that happens. That is real love. And if you can start doing that, then you understand, yes, there can be love without attachment. And that love without attachment is where you really find so much joy. Enjoy each other's company. I love you being here. It's wonderful to spend time with you. And when the end of the day comes, we've had such a wonderful time together, we can let each other go. You know, one of the most important times to love somebody is when they're about to die. And I've seen those two types of love there on people's deathbeds. The type of selfish love, saying, don't go, don't leave me, I'll miss you so much. That is so selfish, that's not real love. That's any other beautiful type of love. I remember one case where, I always remember this couple, Jenny and Steve. Jenny and Steve, they were a young couple, maybe in their 30s, late 30s. They were really active. They had this white water rafting company. They'd organise these tours from Australia to these exotic locations and get these rafts, go white water rafting, you know, through these amazing rivers. Really great life. But that was their passion, but they could make money because they could take other people to these places. And so they're having a really good life. And then he got cancer. Incurable. And he died. But a few days before he died, you know, I went to visit them. You know that often this happens, you're in the bed there, and they're really, really sick, but they're not dying. They're just lingering, they just can't make that last step over into death. And I'm smart enough, Mark, I knew what was going on. So I looked at Jenny, I saw Steve, he was really suffering in the bed. I looked at Jenny, his wife, and I said to her, have you given Steve permission to go yet? She never answered me, because she knew I got it 100%, hit the nail on the head. So she jumped on the bed and she put her arms around her husband and really sort of passionately looked into his eyes and said, Steve, you can die. I'll let you go. You have my permission. And they cried. It was a beautiful thing to see. The love was so strong, she could let the most important person in her life die. A day later he went. It was because she was holding him, wouldn't let him go. That's why he was suffering so much and just could not die. And to this day, I invite every Buddhist and Christian, I don't care what religion you are, if that is your loved one in the hospital, on the bed, please, before they go, give them permission. Imagine what it's like. Imagine that you're dying there. And these are people you really care for. And the last thing you want to do to the people you love so much is to hurt them. And you know when you die that they'll be sad, they'll grieve. It will really hurt them if you die. You just don't want to do that. Unless you've got their permission. So if that's your loved one, your mother, your father, your partner, even your child, and they're dying, see if you can bring yourself to give them permission to go. And that's a beautiful act of love, to let them go. And then they let go. They die with so much peace and happiness. And also, so do you. The greatest act of love is to let go. So that's why we say that, yes, you can enjoy your loved ones with no attachment. And when they do go, they don't all go. There's always that residue left. The residue of the beautiful memories you've had with them, the great times you had. Because that's my father. I told that story last night at Vihara-23 Buddhist Vihara. My father died when I was only 16. I've given so many stories about him. I loved him a lot. He was a great mentor to me. And he wasn't a Buddhist, but I think if he could spell the word, he might have become a Buddhist. He didn't even know how it was spelled. Didn't know anything about Buddhism. But when he died, I was only 16, and I never cried when he died, nor at his funeral. It was done in Mortlake Crematorium. I went past that last night on the way back from the London Buddhist Vihara, place where my father was cremated. How many years ago now? About 44 years ago. And even though he died at such a young age, I never cried, I never wept, I never felt sad even. Never have, never since. And it was a really weird experience. How on earth can you love someone so much or when they die, not feel sad. And it took me a long time to understand my emotions. Remember, a 16-year-old boy, English, we're not really good at emotions. It takes us a long time to understand them. But given us some time, it's one of the great things of being a monk. You have time to investigate how you feel. And what are these emotions? What was I feeling? So that's what I did. And I found out that what I was feeling, I felt in another occasion, another time, another place. And so I could explain it to myself and others. And that became my simile of the concert. Because here in London, I had a great time as a young guy, going to all these pubs, clubs, listening to this great music. They were talking with somebody the other day about Soho, and used to go, there used to be this great rock club called the Marquee Club in Wardour Street. I was a member of that. I used to go to see all these incredibly great bands play there. You know that Led Zeppelin? I remember seeing their first concert. Very first concert, they called themselves the New Yardbirds at first. And I saw them very, very first concert. They became really big. I remember seeing even Deep Purple. They were the #2 band playing in a big concert somewhere, just getting started. And I was talking with my brother, because I've come to visit him as well. He lives just north of London. And we were just reminiscing about, we went to this pub in the North London to see a band we liked. And I only thought about 6 people turned up. He said it was a bit more than that, maybe about 10 or 20. But still, it was such a small number of people came to hear this band. And I thought they wouldn't play for us, but they did anyway. You know who the lead singer was? Rod Stewart. So there you got your private sort of concert with these great musicians. So I really loved that. So I also went to classical concerts and jazz and folk music as well. I liked all types of music. In those days, as these days, when the music finishes at the end of the concert, you all stand up, clap, and shout for more. It's called the encore. And usually they always do an encore, a few extra songs, 5 or 10 minutes, but then the encore stops. And that's when the band has to pack up the instruments and go home. That's when I had to go home too. And I always remember London. Coming here, it's actually not hard to remember, it's actually nice weather. I always remember London, after those concerts, going out of those pubs, clubs, nightclubs in London, into the cold, dark, wet night. I always remember it drizzling. That's a reputation it has. It was really gloomy coming out of the cold, dark, wet night. But even though it was so miserable outside, and even though I knew the concert was ended, and the chances of me ever listening to such music again was almost nil. Never once did I cry after a great concert. I never felt sad after these beautiful evenings listening to great music. Instead I felt so uplifted, grateful, privileged to be there at the time. And that is exactly how I felt when my father died. And it was crematorium. What a wonderful music that was. What a great performance. It was over. The encore was finished. I had to leave. He had to leave. I wouldn't hear that and be with that great man again. But I never felt sad. I felt exactly the same as after a great performance. Wow, how lucky I was to be there for 16 years. Thank you. That's how I felt. That's love with letting go. Appreciation without attachment. And of course, it's 44 years ago, and even those concerts, I still remember them. I still remember who played and some of the tracks which were played. I'm a monk now, but I enjoyed that time. Without attachment, you enjoy and you let go and you move on. There's always another concert coming next week. Always another band coming. Always another monk coming or nun coming to give a talk. That's how we love without attachment. A sense of enjoying every moment, but not allowing the past, when the moment's gone, to stop us enjoying the present. Do you love life? You have to love all of life, not the pleasant part. So love it when it disappears. When the dark days come, you know that's the only way you can have the light days. The winter in England can be very depressing. But please know, in those dark days when all the leaves come off the trees, when the light doesn't come up until about 4 or 5 hours a day, and everything seems dead, underneath the ground there are the seeds of spring. And without the winter, there wouldn't be the joys of spring. Energy which comes up, which bursts out. We don't have that in Australia because it's not so cold, it's like even throughout the year. So whenever you get depressed and dark, whenever love seems to go into hibernation, remember, it's under the surface, it's waiting for the first bit of warmth, the first rays to burst forth, full light, because that's the cycles of our life, aren't they? So that way we can love without attachment, because you allow the seasons to flow. We expect that, that's part of life. When you have love with somebody, you have lots of arguments. Hands up anybody who's been married who didn't have arguments. Of course you have arguments. So expect them. There's nothing wrong with mum and daddy argue. When you get married, you will argue too. But the most important part is the seasons change. They're making up. That's one thing I learned from my mum and dad. They would argue, they'd shout at each other. In such a small apartment, you couldn't miss that. But what I learned by seeing my mother and father argue and shout at each other, I learned you can make up. Because they'd always make up. You know, they'd always make up in front of the kids. That's really, really important. Shout in front of your kids, argue in front of your kids, and make up in front of your kids. So the kids know, yeah, we do have arguments in life, we do have differences. But no matter how much you've argued, you can always take your enemy in your arms, hug them, and say you love them. And that was a really good example to me. It meant I could argue with somebody. I could say, I don't agree with what you said, but afterwards, we know how we could make friends and live in harmony and peace together. So don't be afraid of arguments, but please make up. And that way we can have a lovely life. Then we're being realistic. We're loving the differences and loving when they're reconciled. And you have another argument next week, and you make up again. You have another argument, you make up. That's right. Because without the arguments there'll be no growth. Going through these things together is actually, many people know what makes that relationship, what makes it strong. After a while you've been through so much together, you get this other type of love. Real mutual respect, allowing each other to be. And the last bit of love is please, in your loved ones, please no punishing. This is an important part because why is it that people who love each other don't tell the truth? Because you're afraid to tell the truth. You think that your partner, your mum or your dad, will get really upset if you tell them what trouble you're in. And now this is a big problem with our modern world. Please, you who have children, please let your children know, no matter what mischief they get up to, taking drugs, getting pregnant, doing all sorts of bad things, please let them know you really can tell your mother or father and we will not punish you at all. We will not scold you, we will not harm you at all. As long as you're honest, there's always amnesty. Because you know your kids need someone to tell. And sometimes they're scared of you. Because they think they're going to be scolded or punished in any way. Same as husbands and wives. You know, at first you're honest with each other, but after a few years, again you're scared. Crikey, if I tell him this, he's going to blow it, he's going to get so angry at me. Which means you don't tell him. And you don't tell her. Your relationship needs adjusting. Please have total amnesty with the people you love. And if you're a person Your husband can tell you anything, even that he's had a mistress, and you don't get angry. You say, thank you for telling me, darling. Now how can we solve this problem? Because that's why he's telling it to you. He wants your help and understanding. Then there's something you can do with your relationship. You can mend it. But you know what usually happens? You know, he's made a big mistake. You don't sort of say this is a good thing, having a mistress. And nevertheless, he's done it. And he'd give anything to tell you that you've made a big mistake. I shouldn't have done that. I really am sorry. I really do love you, but help me. He won't tell you that because you think you go berserk. So, honesty is missing with our loved ones because we're afraid. Because it isn't that honesty. If you have children, please let them know that children can tell you anything. And the mum will be hurt, but we won't scold you because thank you so much for letting me know, kids, you're in trouble with drugs. Thank you. Now, I'm not going to scold you. I'm not going to throw you out of the house. I'm not going to take away your allowance. I'm not going to take away your things. Let's work it out together. What can we do? Because that's what children want. And too many kids are afraid of their parents. That's why they won't tell you. Do you want to have a family like that? Too many partners are afraid of each other. That's why they're not take that relationship to the higher level. If you understand what I mean, you understand how you can have love with love attachment. Love with forgiveness. Love with truth. And please, don't you want to have someone you can tell? You can tell anything to and you'll never be criticised or blamed. That's what I've done in my monastery in Perth. I've made it very clear to all the monks who stayed there, and everybody, you guys as well, you can tell me anything. And sometimes you have told me horrendous things. And I keep saying, very good. I just poisoned my husband. Very good. I just imported some heroin and sold it on the streets of, what's the King's Cross? I say, very good. Because I don't like criticising people because I don't want people to feel afraid. So you can tell me anything. Say, okay, now, what are we going to do about this? So you don't have to do that again. Now, of course, you can't have a monk around all the time. But what about your closest friend, the person you've married? Can't you tell them? Imagine a relationship, how it would be if you could tell them anything. And they will understand, you aren't perfect. You made mistakes. You shouldn't have done that. But they know they can tell you, so you can help them. Here's our problem. We fix it up together. So that again is love without attachment. It's a big problem I see in the modern world, because the kids come to me and they say, look, I'm pregnant. I shouldn't have done that. I'm so afraid to tell my mum and dad. Can you tell them for me? For a kid, I got people who got me for drugs. My dad will go berserk. He'll go bananas if I find out. What am I going to do? I thought, my goodness, what's happened, mum and dad? Why can't the kids come and tell you? You get a message there for your mums and dads? For your husbands and wives, what a beautiful world it would be if in your loving relationship, your loved ones, there was their amnesty. Karma will punish them if they've done something wrong. You believe in karma, let that look after it. Your job is to love them and understand them and be open to them. And that way, we can have loving relationships without attachment, without fear. So that's something for you to think about. Wow, I have my lunch. So thank you for that. And we'll come back with questions and answers for lunchtime, because now it's lunchtime. We have a break till 1 o'clock, and then we come back again with what do you want in life? And all sorts of other stuff. So that's coming after lunch. So thank you for listening. No questions. No signing books, because I'm going to make a dash for the lunchroom. Otherwise, you'll ask me questions. One more photograph. You know, I almost missed an aircraft in sort of Singapore once. They're actually calling out my name. So just one more photograph. Actually, can you sign the book? Look, I've got a big question for you. So please, give me a break. Okay.